I'm Preston Reppond. I'm at Tennessee Precious Metals. We are located at 123 South Water Avenue in Gallatin, Tennessee. I've been doing this for 5 years. And I started in this business. I was working for somebody else. I'm a California transplant. Things were so bad in California that I up and left and took my family with me because it was just unbearable. Yeah, so I started in this business back in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. The reason I started working in the business, I was already interested in gold and silver, but I found this place. I was living in Silicon Valley at the time, which is, if you know, where like Mountain View, Sunnyvale, California, south of San Francisco. We call that the South Bay. This place was looking for somebody who spoke Vietnamese. So I lived in Vietnam for a year and a half. I knew a little bit when I left, and so I applied. And I sent my resume in and everything, and they liked me, so they hired me. I was only part-time at the time. Got promoted and opened up a store in Walnut Creek, California, which is the San Francisco East Bay. Ran that from 2021 to 2024 when I left last year to move here. Doing that, I learned the business. And it's a fun business. We get all kinds of people walk in my store. I get meth heads, I get middle class people, I get millionaires, I get everything in between. Never a dull moment. Always super entertaining kind of people who walk in my store. For example, I had one lady, she was clearly on meth. She walks in and she hands me a Civil War note. I get kind of excited, but then I take a look at it and realize, man, you do realize this is printer paper, right? And you see this pixelation right here? This is from a computer printer. And she looks at me, and? Like, she still wanted me to buy it. So I get a lot of fake stuff in here. I have to be very careful whenever somebody brings something to me. Like, for example, I get a lot of people trying to bring me Rolexes. Typically they're fake. One of the things, if you ever come across a Rolex, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of fake Rolexes out there. Check the symbol. Like, take a really good look at it, and then go online, look at the real symbol, and compare those. Typically, the real symbol is going to look different. If it's a fake, it's not going to match up with the real symbol. You got to look at the details really closely. Second of all, what I do whenever I'm buying, like, let's say I'm buying jewelry or I'm buying coins or anything like that, I have equipment on hand to test it. So one of my favorite pieces of equipment is the XRF. So this thing shoots an X-ray into the surface of the metal. Now, it doesn't penetrate the metal. I have other ways of penetrating the metal to see, if it's fully solid gold or silver or anything like that. But what this does is it confirms what I believe to be true. This, let's see, it's a gold ring. Everything typically, when it comes to jewelry, is always going to be stamped. Whether it's gold, silver, even platinum. You just look for, with platinum, you look for PT 950, 95% platinum. So I see this as 10 karat. Now, what does that mean? Like, when I'm buying 10 karat, what does that mean in my head when I'm buying? Well, take 10, divide it by 24. Same thing with 14. Your denominator, whenever you're buying jewelry, your denominator is always going to be 24. So that's 18 karat, divide that by 24, you get 75% gold. If that's 14 karat, take that number, divide it by 24, and you get 58.3%. Same thing with 10, 41.7. So I'm going to throw this here on the XRF, and it's going to tell me, so 41.4%. So if you can see that, you see AU 41.4. So it's not quite 41.7, but it's never exact. Then you got copper, nickel, a little bit of silver, zinc, and it's reading rhodium. I'm not sure if that reading's correct, but it's reading that. So whenever I'm buying jewelry, I know when I'm buying it's real because I've got the equipment. We know this is 10 karat gold, right? So what we do, what my favorite resource to use, or one of my favorites, is goldcalc.com. So that's goldcalc.com. And you can calculate your gold scrap value. So take this, this ring, I'm going to ballpark it, probably a little on the high side, but I got to be safe, right? This stone is probably half a gram. Let's just call it half a gram. So I throw it on the scale, I'm going to subtract the stone, right? And the scale is telling me 2.6 grams. Subtract half a gram, 2.1. All right, so I threw that up on goldcalc.com. They tell me it's $81.42 melt value. Now, let's say I'm paying 75% of melt value, so 81 times 0.75 is $60.75. So I know I can pay that, and I'm going to turn around, sell it to the refiner for 98% of melt, which is basically $79. When I'm buying jewelry, I know that I've got that margin. And here's the thing with like old jewelry, you know, a lot of this stuff, I mean, it's out of style. You know, we're talking about stuff, especially, you know, like grandma's old jewelry that was popular in 1975. You wear it now, it's too gaudy. Like you don't want to wear it, like it's just not in style. I can't tell you how many men's jewelry I get in that was really cool in 1984 that is like big boss thick 14 karat ring that looks like basically a pimp ring. Like nobody wants to wear that these days. Like maybe a few people do, but most people have no interest in pimp rings. I get a lot of those in. I also get a lot of Cuban bracelets. Certain people like them, but most of the market out there really, I mean, it just doesn't exist at this point. Moving on, so let's talk coins. One of my favorite coins that I love buying, that a lot of people have, are Canadian dimes, quarters, and half dollars and full dollars. So up until 1967, Canadian coinage, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and full dollars were 80% silver. For example, I have Canadian dime. This is from, let's take a look here. That's from 1979. That's not silver. But I have this one here, and this one is a commemorative from 1967. This is the last year that they did it. I also have a quarter here from 1951. Paid $2 for that. For the dimes, pay $1. If you have Canadian coinage sitting around in your parents' drawers, bring it to me. I'll sort it for you and I can look through it. I know what's worth, what has silver in it, what doesn't. And believe it or not, here in Tennessee, actually a lot of people have Canadian coinage for some reason. You wouldn't think you would, but you do. Canadian coinage is very more common than you realize. And one of the ways you can always test if something is silver is something called the ping test. I don't know if you can hear that, but silver has a certain resonance to it that no other metal has. So, for example, I have this 1922 peace dollar. So, with any silver dollar, you hear that? I can flick it and I know it's silver. Now I can throw it on my machines and know, like I can get confirmation, but I know what silver sounds like. And so silver's got a particular resonance to it. From 1965 to 1970, half dollars were 40% silver. You brought these to me, I give you $3 right now. $3 each. And you can go through bankrolls. They're still out there. If you go through a bankroll, check for 1965 to 1970 half dollars. The way you can check is you look at the band. If it's a uniform color band, that tells you that it's silver. A normal dime, quarter, half dollar, those are sandwich bands where the middle is brown. That brown is copper. Just face value, not worth anything extra. However, 65 to 70, they're worth $3. If you have a pre-1965 half dollar, this one is from 1944. Melt value alone, we're just talking melt value, we're not talking collectability. $10 for one of these. And the same thing, you check the band. So when you get a roll from the bank, you can go to any bank. They'll have rolls of half dollars, rolls of quarters, rolls of dimes. Those are the ones that pre-1965 had 90% silver. You bring me a dime, I give you $2. Quarter, $5. Half dollar, $10. Now that is according to melt value today. Today is February 12th, 2025. That will change. Trust me, that price will change. It could go up, could go down. But when you go to the bank, check the rolls. If you like, I've had customers who go through rolls of half dollars, go through rolls of quarters, go through rolls of dimes, and they find stuff to this day. They phase this stuff out. I'm not talking half dollars, I'm talking quarters and dimes. They phased those out in 1964. That's 61 years ago. And people are still finding it because typically 9 times out of 10, their kids or their grandkids don't know what they got. They take a big bag of silver dimes, silver quarters, silver half dollars to the bank, and they just give it to the bank for face value. They don't even realize it's worth 20 times what they're getting from the bank. I mean, I worked with a guy one time when I was in this business back in California. He did that. He had a big bag of silver dimes, quarters, half dollars. He took it to a Coinstar, just dumped it in. All that value, gone. And so many people just don't know what they have. You can benefit from that by going to the bank, picking through their coinage. Now remember, it's dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Don't waste your time with nickels. Pennies, typically not going to buy. If they're collectible, I will. But here's the thing on pennies that nobody's talking about. Pre-1983 pennies have 3 cents worth of copper in them. It is illegal to melt those down. Definitely follow the law, do not melt them down. But each penny before 1983 has 3 cents worth of copper in it. Something to think about when you go through bank rolls. People have picked through the half dollars. People have picked through the quarters. People have picked through the dimes, but they have not picked through the pennies. Copper just keeps going up and attracts inflation just like everything else. So something to think about if you want to put your money into something.